Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a quick departure from the current shift of my channel. This is a response to a response that was started by Spins Vinyl, a new channel to me, but I learned about this through several of my friends doing these types of videos, and I actually received a nomination from my buddy Randall Nelson, who you should subscribe to. Let's get Randy to 500 subscribers ASAP. The point of the challenge is to show a decade, show an album from each decade that like you go to all the time, or an album that you would choose to take to a desert island, more or less along those lines. So I picked some albums here. They're not necessarily my favorites from these decades. Actually, a lot of them are not my favorites, but they're the ones that I'm not tired of. They're not ones that I know as well sometimes, and I think it'd just be interesting to take these to an island and see what that will do for my mental health, because I feel like if I listened to these albums on repeat, I would still be very sick of them, because that's just how I am. So the first thing is we need to nominate 3 other members of the vinyl community to take part in this challenge, and there are a bunch of people that I want to nominate, but I'm going to nominate 3 who I think would actually do it, and 3 channels that you might not be as accustomed to. So I'm going to nominate 3. The first one is going to be Lloyd Boone, World of Music. Lloyd is down in Australia, so check out Lloyd's channel. The second is going to be Kier Smith over in the UK. Kier's a big Beatles fan. Kier Smith From Me to You is the name of the channel, and I'm going to have all their channels below. And then the third is going to be a really big Beatles channel. His name is Beatle Dustino, Dustin out in the Midwest. So check out those 3 channels in the description, and I will link all those up. And please subscribe to all of them. They're all really nice guys. So essentially, from what I understand, you can start at any decade that you want, that you listen to a lot of, or as far back as your collection goes. So I don't think I can beat Randy. Randy Nelson did from the 20s up until now, so he covered 100 years worth of music. So I'm going to start technically in the 30s and 40s, although it's going to be encapsulated in one album. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to count this because these artists did not necessarily have full-length albums. They released singles on big 77 records. So this is going to be Glenn Miller Greatest Hits. This goes from 1938 to 1942. And I would have to have some big band on my island, simply because it reminds me of summertime, it reminds me of July 4th, and it always reminded me of being out of school as a kid. So I definitely have to have some big band on my island. So Glenn Miller is the place to go. Obviously stuff like In the Mood, Moonlight Serenade, Chattanooga Choo Choo, String of Pearls, Tuxedo Junction, King Porter Stomp, Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree, Pennsylvania 6-5000, Little Brown Jug. So many great hits that just reminds me of my childhood. So Glenn Miller is going to cover the 30s and 40s for me. In the 50s, I've got to go with some Frank Sinatra, and I also have to have at least one Christmas album on my in my CD player on this island. So I'm going to go with 1957's The Christmas Album. This was the reissue. It wasn't originally called that. I believe this was the Jolly Christmas album that he put out on Capitol, but he's got the fantastic version of Jingle Bells with, I love those Jingle bells. Mistletoe and Holly, the Christmas Waltz, just beautiful. This is, a top album for me just in general, but also definitely in my top 2 or 3 Christmas albums of all time. So I'm going to go with the Christmas album from 1957 with Frank Sinatra. Let's jump ahead about 12 years to, was this 1968, I believe? Yeah, 1968. We're going to go with Sweetheart of the Rodeo by the Byrds. I know I could have gone with a Beatles record, but I've listened to the Beatles records so much that I can, still remember and enjoy the Beatles music in the back of my mind, but also have this to have a little country twang on my island. The big hit on here was You Ain't Going Nowhere, their version of the Bob Dylan song, but they also do Graham Parsons' Hickory Wind, The Christian Life, I Am a Pilgrim. Really, really great country rock record, Sweetheart of the Rodeo from the 60s. 70s, we're going to go to early 70s, 1971 with Tupelo Honey by Van Morrison. Again, a fantastic record. This is kind of Van at his happiest in his marriage. He had kids. Great stuff on here. Tupelo Honey, Wild Night, Old Woodstock, Moonshine Whiskey, I Wanna Rue You, which is a fantastic deep cut. Really, 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 really like this album. This was when Van was hanging out up in Woodstock with the band and people like that. So, Tupelo Honey for the 70s. For the 80s, we are going to jump to, what year is this? 1988, I think. Yeah, I think 1988. I'm going to go with the first Traveling Wilburys album, Volume 1. This is in my top 10 favorite albums of all time. Fantastic super group. Obviously, you have Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, and George Harrison making up the super group of super groups. Stuff on here like Handle with Care, End of the Line, Heading for the Light, what's the one? Sweeter Than the Monkey Man, Margarita, with one of my favorite lines of she wrote a long letter on a short piece of paper that Tom Petty sings so snarkily. Last Night, The Beautiful Not Alone Anymore by Roy Orbison. So Traveling Wilburys Volume 1 is going to kick off the 80s. The 90s, we're going to go a little Tom Petty. This is the She's the One soundtrack. Now, I know I could have gone with the Wildflowers album. The Wildflowers album, excuse me. But this one I reach for more, and this one I think I enjoy as a whole more than I do with Wildflowers. You have Walls on here, you have Angel Dream, you have California, which is a great acoustic jangle song. You have Zero to Outer Space with Fun Rocker. Hung Up and Overdue is beautiful. It's got Carl Wilson on it from the Beach Boys. Hope You Never, Change the Lock, the Lucinda Williams song. So I'm going to go with She's the One by Tom Petty. And the Heartbreakers, 2003, we're going to go to Fountains of Wayne on Welcome Interstate Managers. This has the big hit Stacy's Mom on it, but it's also got, their better music, I should say, like Hey Julie, Hackensack, Mexican Wine, All Kinds of Time, Fire Island, Hung Up on You, Peace and Love, No Better Place, Valley Winter Song. Just a really, really great power pop record. Nice pop melodies by Chris Collingwood and Adam Schlesinger, the leaders of the Fountains of Wayne group. I love Fountains of Wayne, and of course we lost Adam Schlesinger to COVID in 2020. But Fountains of Wayne for the 2000s. 2010s, we're going to go with 2011's debut by The Head and the Heart, self-titled. Again, fantastic. One of my all-time favorite albums of all time. Just saw The Head and the Heart. I did a review on The Head and the Heart. Probably their best album. It is their best album. Every song is fantastic. Their biggest songs on here are Down in the Valley and Rivers and Roads. But you also have great opener, Cats and Dogs, Ghosts, Lost in My Mind, Sounds Like Hallelujah. Really, really great indie folk record. So that leaves us with the 2020s, and we're going to go right to 2020 with the Wood Brothers and their album Kingdom on My Mind. This was their second most recent release. They just put out a new album this year called Heart is the Hero. But this is a really, really great record. Very jammy, very funky. It was conceived out of a lot of the jams that these guys would do in the studio. Again, Wood Brothers are a trio out of Georgia, although I think they're stationed now in Tennessee and Nashville. But you have Chris Wood and Oliver, the lead singer. Those are the brothers. And then percussionist John O'Ricks. This is full of funk, some great organ playing, some great bass playing by Chris Wood, who's also in Medeski, Martin and Wood, the jazz fusion group. So I'm going to go with Kingdom in My Mind to round out these Desert Island discs. So let me know what y'all think of these albums, these picks. I hope the three guys that I nominated, Kier and Lloyd, it was Kier and Lloyd and Beetle Dustin. So sorry, Dustin. Hope those guys hop on this. I'd love to see y'all's take on it. And I will, I'll let everybody know that you're nominated. So I'll send y'all comments. So please subscribe. Thank you to all the new subscribers. And we'll see you on the next one. Be good and take care.